Hey, MCE crew, President Biden has run into a little controversy around how he structured his book compensation and his speaking fees. And there's a lesson here for you, a very valuable lesson, okay, that the president has demonstrated by his actions. Now, mind you, he's a politician. So a lot of things that he says out of his mouth, like most politicians, doesn't mean a thing. It's hypocrisy in most cases. But what they do, remember, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, is a very wealthy man. He's a multimillionaire. And he got that way because he's been sitting over there in the halls of power for decades, about 5 decades. And when you are in a situation like that, even though you're serving the public, you still, unless you're a complete idiot, you're going to absorb all sorts of information that is going to allow you, if you are one of these unscrupulous politicians, you're going to get rich. I mean, you can't help it. So, just like we watch billionaire business people in terms of what they do, we also want to watch these wealthy politicians, because what they do really, really matters, because they're in the know. So what is it that the president has done that has started this whole controversy? Well, it actually happened years ago, and for some reason it's being brought up again. You know how the news likes to rehash stuff, especially when a president is involved. So here's a headline of today's news out of Fox. And then we're going to talk about what he did in detail, because there's a lesson there for you if you're trying to achieve financial independence. The president of the United States achieved it a long time ago by doing things like this. All right, so let's get into the controversy, and then we'll cover the facts around what Biden did. Multimillionaire Biden's use of an S-Corporation draws scrutiny by Republican who sees hypocrisy. Representative Jim Banks, the chair of the Republican Study Committee, lashed out at Biden for calling on the country's richest to pay their fair share after S-Corp revelation. Now, Representative Jim Banks, he's up there on Capitol Hill too. He knows they're all hypocrites, but he has something here that he feels as though he can use against the president, so he's going to do it. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden saved up to $500,000 by routing $13 million they received in book sales and speeches in 2017 and 2018 through S corporations, according to a Congressional Research Service report, which drew criticism by at least one Republican. Now, I don't think this is going anywhere, because President Biden ain't the only one up there doing it, okay? And as I told you in previous videos, if it's not being talked about, but it's kind of controversial in a financial way, you can best believe that most of the Congress are doing it. Looks like old Jim Banks is the odd man out, okay? He might want to think about starting an S-Corp. It is not uncommon for wealthy individuals, listen to this, it is not uncommon for wealthy individuals and politicians to try to preserve their income by using what some call tax loopholes. Of course, we here at Money Changes Everything call it the law. But Republicans have called out what they see as hypocrisy from the president, who came out in support of proposals to tax billionaires. On Friday, the president told reporters, "I just think it's about paying your fair share, for Lord's sake." That's a quote. Representative Jim Banks, the chair of the Republican Study Committee, why do I keep saying committee? Anyway, he lashed out at Biden for calling on the country's richest to pay their fair share to help finance a multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure plan. He said in 2017, multimillionaire Joe Biden skirted his payroll taxes. And that's debatable. The very taxes that fund Medicare and Obamacare, according to the criteria CRS provided to my office. He, Joe Biden, owes the IRS and the American people hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. Now, that makes good newsprint, and I'm sure a lot of people are waving their fist. "Oh, Joe Biden, you are a hypocrite. Pay your fair share," and all that jazz. But in reality, he may have just followed the letter of the law and had some very good people on his team, i.e., accountants, tax attorneys, who advised him to take advantage of this aspect of the law. Okay? That's what I think happened. So, what can we learn? Let's go back to a Wall Street Journal article from 2019. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden used a, they say, tax loophole that the Obama administration tried and failed to close, substantially lowering his tax bill. So it was the law. They tried to change it. It didn't get changed, and Joe took advantage of it. Mr. Biden and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, routed their book and speech income through S corporations, according to tax returns the couple released this week, back in 2019. They paid income taxes on those profits. But the strategy let the couple avoid the 3.8% self-employment tax they would have paid had they been compensated directly instead of through S corporations. Okay? So they employed this S corporation strategy and were able to save some money on taxes. I'm not going to get mad at him for doing that. I'm going to study what he did. If he didn't break the law, then there's something there for me. And this is why I always tell you guys, you've got to, and hopefully you're watching this channel because you either own a business or you are considering owning a business, starting a business. And this is why I tell you need to put a team together of tax professionals and attorneys. And guess what? As you go through the life of your business, these are not just one-shot people that you're going to hire to put the business together and then they're gone. No, they're going to work with you throughout the life of your business to make sure you, because unless you're going into the tax preparation business, you don't have time to worry about every little change that's made to the tax code. That's not your highest and best use. So you contract with people who have that as their highest and best use and as their expertise. Okay, so Biden's tax savings by doing that amounted to $500,000, $500,000, not small change at all, compared to what the Bidens would have owed if paid directly or if the Obama proposal had become law. So they elected to start a business entity and they elected to have the profits or the money from the revenues from those businesses, the books, the speeches, flow through their company first. And then they set themselves up as employees of that business. So no one was writing a check to Joe Biden for a speech. They were writing a check to his company, and then the company was paying Joe Biden and his wife, Jill Biden, because she was out there making speeches as well. There's no reason for these to be in an S-Corp. None, other than to save on self-employment tax, said Tony Nitty, an accountant at Rubin Brown LLP, who reviewed the returns. Okay, so is that not a good enough reason? All right, are you alleging, Nitty, that he broke the law? Quote, as demonstrated by their effective federal tax rate in 2017 and 2018, which exceeds 33%, the Bidens are committed to ensuring that all Americans pay their fair share, the Biden campaign said at the time. The technique is known in tax circles as the Gingrich-Edwards loophole for former presidential candidates Newt Gingrich, a Republican, and John Edwards, a Democrat, whose tax strategies were scrutinized and drew calls for policy changes years ago. Other prominent politicians, including former President Barack Obama and fellow Democrat Hillary Clinton, as well as current contenders back then for the 2020 Democrat nomination, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, received their book or speech income differently, and they paid self-employment taxes. So it sounds like they need to maybe holler at Joe Biden's people and see if they can, actually, abide by the law and save some money. Mr. Biden has decried the proliferation of such loopholes since Ronald Reagan's presidency and said the tax revenue could be used in part to help pay for initiatives to provide free community college tuition or to fight crime. So sure, he is exercising some hypocrisy here, a little bit, because he could stand on principle and say, you know what? I believe that since these were put in place, I don't agree with them. I voted against them, whatever. I'm not going to take advantage of that. He could do that. So there's a level of hypocrisy there. But he's a politician, for God's sakes. He's not, a member of the clergy. Okay, the U.S. imposes a 3.8% tax on high-income households, defined as individuals making above $200,000 and married couples making above $250,000. Wage earners have part of the tax taken out of their paychecks and pay part of it on their returns. Self-employed business owners have to pay it too. People with investment earnings pay a 3.8% tax as well. But people with profits from their active involvement in businesses can declare let me start over, because you need to pay attention to this piece, okay? And you need to talk to about this piece with your tax professional as you start your business or as you continue your business, okay? But people with profits from their active involvement in businesses can declare those earnings to be neither compensation nor investment income. The Obama administration proposed closing that gap by requiring all such income to be taxed at 3.8%. And it was the largest item on the list of, quote, loophole closers, unquote, in the plan by Mr. Obama. The administration estimated that proposal, which didn't advance in Congress, would have raised $272 billion in 2017 through 2026, which is a paltry sum compared to the trillions that we are now started spending in 2020. Under current law, S-corporation owners can legally avoid paying the 3.8% tax on their profits as long as they pay themselves, quote, reasonable compensation that is subject to regular payroll taxes. S-corporations are a commonly used form for closely held businesses in which the profits flow through to the owner's individual tax returns and are taxed there instead of at the business level. Now, that is extremely powerful, all right? And that is something that, I've been pushing here for a while. You need to incorporate, if you have any entrepreneurial leanings whatsoever, this is one of the many advantages, tax-wise, that business owners enjoy that the rest of the population is doing the 9-to-5 W-2 model. They don't enjoy this, okay? So I am not mad at Biden for doing this. I take this as confirmation of what I've been saying, and hopefully you take it as confirmation of the fact that you need to be serious about your business and incorporate, because that is the way, one of the major ways that you can actually take advantage of the existing law to hold on to more of your money. I'm going to link to both of those articles. I want you to read them. I want you to understand what's going on here. And I also want you to think about this in terms of the way the news will kind of spin stuff. Look, we don't really go into partisan politics here. I've got issues with the Democrats and the Republicans, all right? Anytime it gets in the middle of me making some money, okay, that's where I have an issue. I don't care what party affiliation you are. So there are things, though, that are out there that these politicians have put in place because they're rich and they want to keep on being rich. So they're going to model this and situate this entire structure to benefit themselves first, okay? And that's just human nature. So don't get mad. Don't go out there and, grouse about this and think that something magical is going to change just because you vote for the other guy. Look at what they're doing and see if you can adapt some of those characteristics into your personal economy so that you can achieve financial independence. I'll talk to you soon.